Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Daphne, and today we're going to check out the riskiest places in the world. Do you know of any risky places? I don't know of any risky places, but we are sure enough about to get into this and check it out and see what is considered risky. I mean, is it on the tippy top of a mountain? I don't know. Is it somewhere in the deep parts of the ocean? But the only way we can find out is by watching. So let's just go ahead and get into this episode. Let's see here.
We all know that feeling when we hear something go bump in the night. Is it a burglar, a ghost, Mothra? Well, no. We usually reason it's just the house making weird noises. Nothing to worry about. But what if your house isn't there to protect you from the outside, but is in fact more dangerous than anything out there? From the house that just keeps on growing to the home stuck way up high on the side of another building. Here's the 15 riskiest houses in the world. Number 15. Suttiagin House. When something doesn't look quite how you want it, try adding a little more, and a little more, and then maybe just a little more until it's just right. That's what Russian businessman Nikolai Suttiagin did after he began building his own perfectly normal two-story wooden house.
Okay, so this actually reminds me of a video game that
three more stories
me and my husband once played. It's called Whatever Happened to Edith Finch, and literally the house looked just like this. Like, if you never played the game, you should definitely play the game. It was very fun, very interesting, had a great story, but literally the house in the game looked like this. I wonder if at any point was this house inspired the developers of that game. I'm just curious.
And decided that made it look like a mushroom. So he just kept on adding and adding. Only Suttiagin hadn't bothered to ask for a building permit or even bothered with any kind of plans. Just jumping up there and throwing on another layer seems to have been the strategy. By 2007, 15 years after he began building, the house had 13 stories and was over 140 feet tall. Suttiagin, however, found himself in trouble with the law and was jailed for racketeering, meaning the house fell into disrepair. The authorities, maybe already kind of unhappy with our crazy builder, decided it was a fire hazard and pulled down the huge tower and most of the top floors, leaving just a regular two-story building, like the original idea back in 1992. Then, sadly, even that burned to the ground once and for all. Well, I guess he could just start all over again.
I mean, would you really live in a house that was 13 stories? I could not fathom living in a house that's for 13 stories. Like, how would you even, like, there's got to be a staircase or something, right? There's no way. I just could not imagine being comfortable in a 13-story house. I mean, I just think about the simple fact that people could be staying in there with me and I would have no clue because it's 13 stories. Am I going to really climb all those stairs every day? I just could not. I could not imagine doing that at all. That's crazy. Could you? Could you really, like, live in a 13-story house? Please comment below. I'm just very curious if you could, because I couldn't. I could not live in a 13-story house. No, especially not that one.
We go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or Slenderman will come from under your bed when you're sleeping. Time for the rare topic. How about this for a relaxing vacation home? You've got a pool, an ocean view, and of course, the all-important sensation of just hanging off a cliff face. Is this the dream of the kind of person who likes to lock their Sims in a room with 10 fireplaces and no doors? Or would you actually feel pretty relaxed here? taking a swim,
Not at all.
looking down to the ocean crashing over the rocks below through your neat telescope. We're not sure where this house is based, but after this photo was sent to us, we knew one thing for sure. We would never be confident enough to live here. We just couldn't sleep without...
I mean, is that even real? I mean, do you really think that's real? Do you think that there's a house attached under the cliff? I don't even think this is real. I don't even think this particular picture is real. It looks so photoshopped to me. Like, how did the builders even build this where it is? Like, I just feel like that part of the cliff, or whatever, would just come, like, eventually one day break off, and then you're just in the ocean. Like, I don't think this is a real picture. But even if it was a real picture, I would not live there. I would not live there. I mean, it's a dope house if it was on, like, land and solid ground, but the way it is suspended in the air, not doing it. You couldn't even pay me to live in this house. This is just ridiculous.
Without thinking it would slide off the cliff. How about you? Could you sleep here comfortably?
Not at all.
As always, comment down below with the hashtag #RareTopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. Let's move on to the next one. Number 14. Wasoko Apartments. The Dutch are the masters of making the best use of a small place, and knowing how to expand that space too, since a pretty significant amount of the Netherlands' land area has been reclaimed from the sea over the years. The apartments were built by the architecture firm MVRDV, and they were given a particular remit to build an apartment block which would house elderly residents, while allowing good lighting and especially access to a certain green space, which would be bathed in sunlight during warmer months. However, once the plans had been drawn up and approved, the client changed its mind and decided that an extra 13 apartments would be needed, bringing the total to 100. Normally this would simply require the architects to add yet another story to the building, but doing this would have completely blocked sunlight from the garden space, so the architects came up with an unusual solution, attaching the extra 13 apartments to the outside of the building, hanging off the sides like badly placed blocks in Tetris. This innovation hugely increased the budget, meaning the 13 extra apartments were built with cheap materials, and so noise insulation and other priorities were sacrificed. Not to mention the fact you are practically floating in midair up in one of those things. Number 13. China's Hanging Monastery. Unlike Holland, China has plenty of space, being the world's 4th biggest country by landmass. And while there's a lot of people living in China today, this crazy hanging monastery was built back in the 5th century, when the population of China was around 50 million, about the same as modern Spain. And yet, with all that vast expanse available, a monk named Liao Ran decided to build his monastery on a cliff face. The impressive architectural feat lies 40 miles or 60 kilometers southeast of the city of Datong in the Shanxi province, and it is truly a wonder of the world. Built into a mountain crag, the monastery accommodates 3 different religions. Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism are all represented in statues through the temple's incredible 40 rooms, all linked by a maze of passages. The monks bored holes into the cliffs and inserted strong poles, which have held the monastery in place for one.
I definitely would like to go see this. I think that would be so neat. I think that would be so cool to go to China, but I just want to go outside the country, like, so badly. I want to go visit everywhere. I would even want to visit places that, like, my dream is to go where, like, technically nobody really inhabits. Like, that is such a dream for me. It's just like the most natural place in the world is where I kind of want to visit the most. But I would so want to visit this because I feel like it's just a once in a lifetime opportunity for me, and I think it would be so neat to experience this in person. I would like to walk through that. I think that'd be kind of dope.
1,500 years, although major restorations were carried out in the year 1900. Hey, gravity, is that the best you can do? Number 12. Cliff Village, China. Staying with China, and in fact, staying with cliffs, we have another residence which laughs in the face of vertigo. The small and ancient village of Atular lies 2,600 feet, or 800 meters, up the side of a mountain in the province of Sichuan. This isolated and impoverished community's only contact with the wider world lies at the bottom of 17 connected ladders, made of rattan, which lead down the steep mountainside. The journey down with no handrails or any kind of safety measure is particularly dangerous in wet or snowy weather, and children as young as 6 make the journey once a week to attend the boarding school in a town near the foot of the mountain. The journey down takes 90 minutes, and going back up a full 2 hours. People have slipped and fallen to their deaths on numerous occasions, and finally photographs of the situation made it to the mainstream news in China, prompting...
Yeah, before we continue on with that one, no, I'm not doing that one. I'm not doing that one. No. I am not about to fall to my death. I'm clumsy anyway. I'm super clumsy. I am not doing that at all. Like, not even a little bit. Not interested. I'm slightly afraid of heights. I can overcome it when need to, but no. I feel like that's so unnecessary for me personally to do. So I'm not going to be doing that one. No, that's a hard pass. And I feel so bad for anybody that actually have to do this like weekly or whatever they have to do to living in that environment. That I couldn't imagine having to do that like every week. Imagine doing that every week and being afraid of heights. And knowing that people have fallen to their death. I mean, that just sounds so terrifying.
An outcry and the development of a modern stair structure to make the journey less dangerous. Furthermore, Atular has become an increasingly popular tourist destination, and the new interest in the village and its surroundings are beginning to pull the village out of poverty.
That's
don't
awesome.
Get all the way to the bottom and realize you left the oven on. Number 11. Liechtenstein Castle. Liechtenstein Castle is situated in the southwestern German state of Baden-Württemberg, and although this little castle is not the most famous in Germany, it's certainly one the locals are proud of. Resembling a fairy tale castle of the kind you might imagine medieval knights would have inhabited, it is in fact constructed much more recently than that, in the mid-19th century. Although it looks relatively cute and cozy for a castle, there's plenty of historic weapons lying around in case things get a little heated with the neighbors. The castle was built by a wealthy German after reading a book about an imaginary castle called Liechtenstein Castle. He chose to build it directly on top of the ruins of another castle which really was built for medieval knights way back in the year 1200. The original castle was a little more risky to live in than its modern equivalent, being destroyed and rebuilt twice before finally falling into ruins. So if you ever decide to take a visit to this castle, better hope the invaders don't show up to sack it a third time. Otherwise, find out where the suits of armor are kept. Number 10.
I would want to visit that. Like, I would actually want to go and see that castle. I think that would be neat. I wouldn't live there, but I would like to go as like, oh, I'm in Germany. Let's go check out the castle, you know? So it's like, I would go there for like, just like a little visit, you know? Like, it's part of my touring. It's part of my, like, my trip, you know? But nothing more than that. I wouldn't live there.
This entry isn't so much one house, rather any one of the houses in which the 2 million or so people who live around Africa's Lake Kivu inhabit. Lake Kivu is one of Africa's Great Lakes, and it lies between the countries of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's a pretty big lake. And it
looks so pretty. I love water.
In the world. But it's what lies below the bottom of the lake that makes living near Kivu extremely risky. The Swahili-speaking locals call it mazuku, which means evil wind. But in English, the evil wind is plain old methane, and it's been wreaking havoc near the lake for generations. Scientists describe the situation as like a corked champagne bottle, just about ready to blow. And once in a while, warning shots are fired. In 1984, 37 people died after being close cloaked in a poisonous, burning white gas coming from the lake. U.S. military
Okay, so
scientists,
no.
fearful of chemical weapons testing, went to investigate and discovered the gas was leaking from Lake Kivu. 2 years later.
Okay, so I thought this lake was like cute and I thought it looked nice, but I ain't trying to get no gas poison. Like there's a big old, what you call it, the bones and crust, like sitting on top of the lake all eerily and whatever. Like, no, I'm not trying to die because the lake looks cute, looks nice. I mean, I love water, but I ain't trying to die for it. I mean, yeah, no, it's just a little too dangerous for me.
1,700 people died in another small
Yeah,
eruption.
no.
The lake is believed to explode about once every 1,000 years and is overdue a blast. A blast which, when it happens, could be more devastating than a nuclear strike. The Rwandan government has begun the process of drilling and extracting the methane to relieve the pressure, with the added benefit of a new and cheap energy source for Rwandans. But the extraction of the gas will take many years, and until then, the millions of people living nearby will wake up every day wondering, is it going to be today? Number 9.
That would be
Treehouse.
scary.
This particular entry on the list probably looks more intimidating than it really is. While the idea of living in a treehouse that is as high as the Statue of Liberty sounds pretty terrifying, this amazing structure is actually very robust and well built, and designed to keep its inhabitants safe from all the many other dangers surrounding them. The treehouse is on the sparsely populated and mountainous island of southeastern West Papua in New Guinea. The Koroway people made first contact with the outside world only in the 1970s, when Christian missionaries explored the island. What they discovered was this astonishing architecture, which protected up to 20 tribespeople and their animals from a forest infested with giant spiders, venomous snakes, and lethal insects. Furthermore, the tribes here are among the last in the world to practice cannibalism, and the treehouse is rigged with a simple warning system, letting the occupants know if any hungry-looking rival tribes were climbing up. Since the discovery of the tribe, major exploitation of the forest has begun, and numbers have dwindled to only 4,000, with people leaving to live in modern cities, or dying out due to destruction of the surrounding forest. Number 8. Puna Hawaii. The district of Puna on Hawaii's Big Island is home to Kilauea, one of the world's most active volcanoes. The volcano was in continuous action from 1983 to 2018, and people living in the vicinity have been under constant threat from lava flows. In that time, lava flowed into 10% of the district's surface land, destroying 190 buildings and homes.
Okay, I'm about to sound a little psycho, but I don't know, fire is so pretty. And I love the way lava looks. I've never been close to it, don't want to be close to it, but I do love the way lava looks and how it flows across everything. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like if there was an ASMR, are there ASMR videos on lava? I would probably watch it. I would probably watch lava ASMR or lava ASMR. I don't know. I like lava. It's pretty. I don't like the rocks though, but I like the lava itself.
As well as flowing spectacularly into the sea. You'd think this would put people off.
It's so
moving to the
pretty
area,
and moves so
but
slow.
The understandably low property prices in Puna have led to just the contrary. A serious population explosion, if you'll forgive the pun. These new residents have plenty to deal with, not least the difficulty obtaining home insurance. The geothermal power plant, which powers a portion of the island, had its wells plunged with mud and cold water in 2018, as it threatened a huge gas explosion, as the emissions of sulfur dioxide hit 15,000 tons per day. It's not just
straight up
safety concerns
dangerous
that have the islanders worried. Natives have long feared the repercussions of building on lands believed to belong to the fire goddess Pele, who is said to live on the volcano. If Pele gets annoyed enough, it might be the last time some Hawaiians get to see their homes without a fiery lava flow running through them.
I'm making Pale mad. All right, like let's respect the island gods. All right, let's like stop making them mad because they ruining stuff. It's over here wrecking. Like let's respect who was here before us. Respect
Number
that.
7. Lfa Iceland. Iceland as a nation is already remote enough. A population of a little more than 350,000 people. That's the equivalent to a city somewhere between Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Living on a volcanic island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean is already kind of out of the way. But for a family back in the 18th century, this just wasn't far enough from the mass of humanity. So they decided to build a house on an otherwise deserted island known as Lfa. There's no doubt something highly mysterious and fascinating about this strange house sat all alone on a tiny island, and even Icelanders know little about its occupants. Records show that several families have lived there since its construction, although it has been officially unoccupied since the 1930s. That hasn't stopped all kinds of speculation about who might be living there in secret, including rumors that Iceland's most famous musical star, Björk, has taken possession of the house. Other rumors suggested that a wealthy man built the house many years ago as a safe place to hide in the event of a zombie apocalypse. Life in the house would have been hard and dangerous, a never-ending struggle for food and water, relying only on the natural supply of fish and puffin meat, and completely cut off from the mainland in bad weather. No running water, electricity, or plumbing are other disadvantages, but it does come with its own sauna and some spectacular nature. Number 6. Mount Wachia. There are some cultures in the world that are known for their love of tea. England, Turkey, Morocco, and Ireland are some of the biggest consumers, and a lot of the tea drunk in those countries comes from China, who are the #1 producers of tea. How much, though, could a person love tea? Enough, say, to visit a tea house situated on top of one of the most dangerous hiking mountains in the world? Well, that is exactly what awaits hikers at the top of Mount Hua's tallest southern peak. The mountain is one of China's 5 sacred mountains, and followers of the Taoist religion believe that the god of the underworld resides within the mountain, and it...
Come on. Okay, so China, y'all must not be afraid of heights. Like, y'all must have no fear in your heart. Because, like, every time they show a clip of the riskiest places in the world, y'all's name come up. Like, y'all be like the first one with something on top of a mountain or something narrow or whatever. I am so afraid of heights. And then on top of that, got RA. So I won't be climbing anything anytime soon. And there's no way.
It has a fearsome reputation.
No way I
The first
could do
temples
that.
were built atop it in the 2nd century, designed to test the mettle of monks who would be rewarded with enlightenment and tea on reaching the top. Even to this day, climbers make their way across terrifying narrow planks, and often at night, as it makes it less frightening when you can't see how rickety and narrow the path you are taking is. Some parts are only wide enough for one person and traverse sheer cliff faces. Better hope you don't meet someone
I'm
on their
scared
way
just
back
watching.
down, or things could get awkward. In any case, better check the Yelp reviews of the tea house before going up. Imagine finding out it sucked after making it all the way up. Number 5. Fallingwaterhouse. Fallingwaterhouse, built over a running waterfall in rural Pennsylvania, is often cited as one of America's greatest architectural masterpieces.
It looks
was
so
built by
tranquil.
Frank Lloyd Wright, America's most famous architect, in 1935, and it is considered one of his finest works. At least in terms of its modernist beauty. So, with this pedigree, what could go wrong? Well, it turns out the great architect did not pay much attention to detail when it came to the structural side of Fallingwater, as he did with its aesthetic appearance, meaning Fallingwaterhouse was in danger of becoming Falling Down House. Wright found himself at odds with his engineering about the best way to support the house, and eventually overruled the engineer. By the 1990s, the pinnacle of modernist design was beginning to severely sag, and the beams were under increasing pressure as the house, a popular tourist destination, began to resemble another architectural masterpiece, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Finally, in the 2000s, the $11 million needed to repair the house without altering its appearance was raised, and years after a complex restoration was completed, it seems to be holding together. Just don't jump up and down too hard on some of those overhanging.
I'm glad that they were able to repair this, because like it is so beautiful and aesthetically pleasing. I mean, I see why they built it. I mean, to me, it just feels so tranquil. I would love to visit this place, and I probably would even forget about the structural sound. I mean, they repaired it, but still, I mean, it's so beautiful. I would love to visit this place.
Number 4. Meteora. The Meteora is a rock formation in Greece, and the word means high up. You know, like a meteor. And they are pretty high up, so that begs the question, why build on top of these peaks when there's plenty of, you know, normal ground all over the place? The buildings on top the Meteora Rocks are monasteries from the Eastern Orthodox Christian Church.
It is located in the heart of mainland Greece.
And a little like the temples in China, they were designed to be extra challenging, so only the most faithful could ever reach them. Also, the monasteries were built during the 14th century as Greece was invaded by Muslim Turks, and the Greeks figured it was a good way to protect their religious sites from the invaders. In the 1920s, steps were carved into the rock, making life a little easier for the monks, but until then, the only way up was via rope ladder, which were unfurled from the top. And just to make things a little bit more crazy, the ladders were only replaced when God chose to break them, meaning each time a monk went up, he must have been praying pretty hard God wouldn't decide to plunge him to his death this time. Number 3. Habitat 67. If Frank Lloyd Wright's Fallingwaterhouse was designed to harmonize with the nature surrounding it, Israeli architect Moshe Safdie's Habitat 67 was designed to do almost the opposite. An example of what is called brutalist architecture, these stacked cells in Montreal, Canada, were unveiled in 1967 as a vision of a utopian, socialist future for the people of Quebec. The idea was affordable housing, which offered space and light, as well as maintaining a form of high-density living for a growing city. 160 homes are scattered across the 13-story building, which today attracts wealthy Montrealers looking for a place of architectural authenticity. Not exactly the affordable utopia Safdie had envisaged. This is because structural issues, now mostly repaired at great expense, caused the apartments to become unsafe and even deadly. The building's concrete needed constant repair, and one former resident, who prefers to remain anonymous for fear of offending the radical supporters of Habitat 67, said he soon moved out after developing a serious lung condition and seeing his cat drop dead. This was due to poor ventilation, allowing mold spores to spread wildly. But there are some upsides.
Look, I was so just about to say that like this place is very interesting, structured, and I would probably like to visit it, and I probably like, I don't know, it's one of those places that you pass by and go, oh, that's probably a really cool place to stay at, but like after hearing more about it, I probably will have to pass, like hard pass. But if my friends stay there, that'll probably be the only way I can get up in there. It's like, I have a friend, I'm going to visit.
Besides, every home has access to a garden built on the roof of an adjacent cube, which is more.
I think that's so cool.
Most
everybody gets their own.
It still stands today, and for a thick wedge of Canadian dollars, you can have a cube of what has been called Montreal's failed dream. Number 2, Gate of Europe Towers. Here's another building, or rather two, which makes us think of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, the Gate of Europe Towers in Madrid, Spain. This pair of 374-foot or 114-meter-high towers was designed by the famous American architect Philip Johnson and construction finished in 1996. But taking a look at the towers, you might be forgiven for thinking that something had gone horribly wrong. However, these are the first skyscrapers in the world with a built-in incline, leaning a stomach-churning 15 degrees. One look down from the top floor must be pretty dizzying. The towers have started something of a trend in skyscraper design, with 10 more inclined skyscrapers having been built since 1996. But these towers have become an iconic feature of the Madrid skyline and have shown up in several movies. But if you go up them, here's a tip: don't look down. Number 1. Takasugian, Japan. So you're probably thinking that you've already seen the most dangerous tea house in the world already? Well, you're wrong, because the Japanese were not about to let their ancient enemy China take that prize. The Takasugian in Nagano Prefecture must be one of the craziest buildings on Earth, and its name in Japanese means tea house too high, which is a pretty good summary of this strange little building perched on top of 2 chestnut trees. The little tea house is an exercise in Japanese simplicity and minimalism. Built from simple materials and with sparse plaster walls, it only has space for 4 tea drinkers at a time. But any more than that, and you'd be worried the whole thing might come crashing down to earth. And if you're up there with 4 sumo wrestlers, you might be pretty nervous. Built by architect Terunobu Fujimori, it's meant as a place to sip tea, contemplate and feel a meditative calm come over you. But I'm not sure how relaxing the whole
I would like one of those just in my personal space, you know, like have like a little tree house just for you to go. There'd be like no TV, no electronics, no nothing. And you just go in there and you just sit to be with yourself and just to reflect over life. I think that would be so cool. And the simple fact that they came up with a tea room like that, that's pretty neat. That's just like, and they use it out of the most simple materials. I mean, I think that's
would be
just awesome.
Especially if the wind starts blowing a little too hard. Which of these risky houses would you want to live in if you had to? Have you ever built a treehouse?
I would like to build a treehouse. Like, I mean, I thought that was so cool, and that was it. That was the riskiest houses in the world. So, which one did you think was the most risky? Yeah. So, which one did you think is the most risky house that you've seen? And I don't know. Like, which one would you want to visit? Which one would you not want to visit? And which one would you actually would like to recreate for your own like special space? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.